She suspected that she would have a hard time getting along with the Earl and hoped that his travels with the prince kept him away as long as possible. To add to her troubles, there had been an attempt on her life. Her husband's lover had apparently hired a man to kill her because she thought the Earl's emerald bracelet would look better on her own wrist. Lily, however, had no intention of dying that easily. She had always faced problems as they presented themselves, so she squared her shoulders and continued with her work around the estate. In spare moments, she wrote down everything she remembered about medicine and tried to decide what advances she should share with her new world. One thing was certain, she would tell them nothing about military technology. Her new world had not yet invented gunpowder, and Lily was damned if she would do it for them. She remembered the ingredients. What child didn't fool around with explosives, especially if she lived on a military base? But she kept it to herself. She wanted her new world's moral capacity to grow faster than its technological prowess, so she kept her innovations simple: glass, lace, ladies' jewelry, and she worked constantly. Even in her old life, Aliya had never had any patience for people who complained that they didn't know how to do something. With free online classes available on any subject from raising rabbits to tatting lace, she saw no excuse for ignorance. When Aliya was younger, her mother had signed her up for clubs and classes whenever they moved to a new town. Tatiana Viktorovna believed that a body needed to know as much as possible in order to succeed in Russia, so she filled her daughter's head with knowledge, from wound care and surgery to canning vegetables and embroidery. She was overjoyed when her daughter applied to medical school. A doctor could always find work. Lily was still grateful for her mother's efforts. A loud bang interrupted her train of thought. "I believe I've won again." Hans grinned. The Countess jumped up and went to the window. The children were up to no good. "Laird Tremaine, I admit defeat. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must go see what the children are getting into." Tremaine nodded. "Of course, my lady." Lily gave a slight bow and sailed out of the room, leaving Hans to put the game pieces away. She reflected that while the era might not be to her liking, the government was decent enough. Edward VIII seemed to be a sensible and intelligent man, judging by the envoy he sent to get to the bottom of the trouble at Earton. Hans Tremaine was whip-smart and a consummate professional. She was even a little afraid of him at times, probably because he rarely smiled. She pushed open the heavy castle door and walked out into the courtyard, where she barely missed being hit by a small missile. It was a rock, delivered by slingshot. The children were practicing self-defense. "Lily, look what I can do!" The Countess smiled down at her stepdaughter. "Let's see." Another rock went whistling and hit its target with an impressive thump. Miranda looked up at her stepmother, eyes shining. Lily laughed and nodded. "Keep up the good work. You're my smart girl." Miranda Catherine tilted her head to one side and grinned, revealing a gap where she had recently lost a tooth. Lily couldn't accomplish everything she wanted to do in her new world, but she made sure to brush her teeth with Miranda every night before bed. Instead of toothpaste, they used a mixture of nettles, birch bark, and chalk that did the job just fine. At first, Miri had protested the new hygiene rules, but after listening to a lecture on cavities and looking around at grown men and women who were missing half their teeth, the little girl stopped arguing and started brushing her teeth twice a day. To be fair, she would have done anything at all in order to be just like Lily. She was overjoyed to have a kind, fun-loving adult who took the time to listen to her. They argued on occasion, but for the first time in her young life, Miri had a mother. The little girl could never have explained it that way, but she knew without words that finally someone cared about her. She threw her arms around Lily's neck, kissed her cheek,